Hello and welcome to Clickbait. I am Matt and today we're talking about tiny little flash guns. Yes, Godox have brought us an incredible pair of little tiny minuscule, beyond the scope of tiny pocket size, the ultimate everyday carry tininess. Godox have brought us a pair of ridiculously tiny minuscule little flash guns, which I'm genuinely shocked at how tiny they actually are. And this is a general trend we've seen across the world of photography in the last couple of years. Not long ago, if you wanted to be taken seriously as a professional, you were using a hefty couple of kilo lump of a DSLR body that you could club a baby seal to death with. These days though, everything's changed. Canon, Nikon, Sony, they're all producing these incredible mirrorless bodies which are half the size, half the weight. Even things like the Z30, which is not even full frame, produces incredible results, and look how tiny this little thing is. And so it's no surprise there is now finally a flash gun to suit. And if you want to carry a small camera like this little Sony around, or even a full system mirrorless like this Fuji, you now have the option of flash that you can attach to the camera. Has this got flash built in? I'm suddenly doubting whether or not this Fuji's got a built-in flash or not. I don't think it has. Anyway, let's take a look at these little things. So a quick unboxing for you. This is the iT20 and the iT22. They're both very similar in terms of spec, but a little bit different in terms of format. The iT20 is a square, low-rise little unit, whereas the iT22 has the same flash element, the same controls, the same screen, but in a slightly taller format, because there is, well, there's advantages to both. The smaller, lower format is great for portability and sneaking into a pocket and keeping the entire system very, very tiny indeed. But you do maybe get better pictures or more creative pictures if you can raise the light source a little bit further away from the camera's lens. And so you've got the choice. You can choose to go ultra low rise, ultra high rise, but there are also accessories we can talk about as well in a second. In addition, I'll quickly mention this is silver and this is black. Both are available in both finishes, and they're available dedicated to Nikon, Sony, Olympus, Fuji. I'm sure there's someone else. But Godox very kindly supplied these for review, and I said can I have a silver one because it'll nicely match my Fuji, and can I have a black one because it'll nicely match my Nikon, because we are photographers and we care about appearances. So, in something as tiny, what kind of functions do we have? Well, starting with the absolute very basics, it charges off USB-C. It takes a maximum of an hour and a half from completely flat, and that gives you 700 flashes in here. It is, as I say, dedicated TTL, so if you get the one that's dedicated to your particular camera system, that will meter with your camera, and as you can see here, we get some quite decent results in terms of flash metering. If that's not working quite right for you, you have got up to 3 stops of compensation, up and down, plus and minus. If you want to compensate for something, you can do that just with the plus and minus buttons on the back. If, however, you've got a dedicated one to Nikon, Sony, Canon, whatever, and you want to use it on a different camera, not a problem, because one of the little buttons on the side, or the back in this case, is the M button that flicks you from TTL mode to manual mode. So you can then shoot it in manual, and then you have control of the output from full power down to 1/32 power in 1/3 increments all the way through with the plus minus buttons, and just hit the button and then bada bing, you're firing with flash, huzzah! Which is very handy. For example, this little Sony ZV-1, great video camera, great still camera, no flash, but it does have a hot shoe. And with a little unit as tiny as that, that doesn't add a lot more bulk to this entire little outfit. So it's tiny, it's simple, it's pretty accurate. What else do you need to know? Well, what are the results like? And well, I'll be honest, they're pretty good actually, because it's a tiny weeny thing, but the metering with the camera is accurate. The power output, it doesn't give you an accurate guide number as to how much flumph it's putting out in terms of light, but it's enough to light this dog sitting underneath a cupboard in the complete darkness quite well. It'll light this dog in a relatively dark hallway completely well. Because it's on camera flash and because it's firing straight out with the lens in virtually the same axis of the lens, you do get that old school compact camera red eye and harsh shadows behind look, which is actually kind of in vogue as well at the moment. That kind of lo-fi look is quite cool and quite popular, so you can play that to your strength. You can make that part of the look if you want. However, if you want to have a little bit more control, a little bit softer light, take a bit more control. Also, you might find if you've got a largish lens hood like on this 18 to 55, the low rise height of the flash does clip that, and so you do wind up with a little bit of a shadow in the bottom of the frame. Don't worry, Godox, I've got a solution for you. They sell a riser. Now you need to get the dedicated riser for the flash gun that you're going for. This is the TRN, so IT riser N for Nikon, and this is the TRF, so IT riser for Fuji. So super easy, just slot it in there, find your appropriate little tiny flash gun, slot that in there, and you're good to go. This does have one hidden feature though, because although it doesn't look like more than just a little black block of risingness, it's actually a hinged block of risingness, because you can do this, and that gives you up to 90 degrees of rise, so you can bounce flash off the ceiling or off the wall if you're shooting vertical. And that has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stops of increment that you can click through. So that's a really handy wee thing. So if you want to add an extra little dimension of creativity and control to your tiny flash gun, okay, it does rise it a little bit more, but also if you know you're going to be shooting with a particular lens with a big lens hood on it or a longer lens, then grab that in your bag as well and you're good to go. The other thing I've not mentioned yet is the accessories beyond this, because you can choose to have a diffuser which makes it even softer. So if you don't want the very, very hard lighting, you can soften it with a little tiny diffuser to squeeze on the front. And in the box you do get 3 other items which are magnetic clip-on. You get a little magnetic coloured filter for orange. These magnetically clip on to the front, so you can stack that. So you can use these singly or double stacked for added intensity of colour, and that gives you a bit of like a tungsten orange effect to your photo. And as well as that, there's a tiny, tiny magnetic clip-on diffuser. So if you don't want such harsh light and you haven't got nothing to bounce off, you can fire through that and give you a little slightly softer light, which is a great idea. Only had this for a couple of days. Godox got in touch and said, would I like to try them and see if they're any good or not, but I haven't yet had time to take them anywhere exciting just yet. So it's only been me and the dogs who've got to experiment with these around the house so far. But these are a really cool little thing. I mean, what gets me is the absolute tininess. I mean, it doesn't matter how small a kit bag you're carrying, this little iT20 will fit in it. And if you're going somewhere where you don't know what you're going to be facing, if you don't know if you're going to have enough ambient light to shoot without a tripod, if you're going to a party or something and you know it's going to be a bit dark but you want to get some photos with your friends, this is perfect. It adds literally no bulk to your bag, and it even comes with a little drawstring bag so you can drop it in there, keep it protected and safe, and if you need to shove it in the same bag as something else, as a camera, it's not going to knock it and scratch it. You can tuck it in there and it's great. This is a great little thing, 40 quid, and that gets you so much more creative potential to rush out and do things. Although it doesn't have a slave function, because it will work in a full manual mode, if you want to use it as part of a creative system, if you've got a hot shoe remote slave, the kind of thing you can drop a flash gun into and it'll just ping the flash when it sees another flash, you can use it as part of that arrangement. So you can add in extra light sources around in a flash setup. And for 40 quid, that really is extremely good value. So in conclusion, this is a really, really handy little tiny flash unit. It adds such a great little element of available creativity and opens up possibilities to shoot in places you wouldn't necessarily be otherwise able to shoot. At parties, at events, out and about. If you're doing street photography and you don't mind giving yourself away with a pop of light and alerting people that you're out there taking photos, that could be an extra little element in your street photography setup, because it will work with cameras that are so tiny. As I say, you can get a Sony dedicated one if you want to use TTL flash on a Sony. Obviously you don't always want to use flash in street photography. 90% of the time you definitely wouldn't, but sometimes there may be that little element. If you've got people walking out of the sun towards you and you just want to add a pop of fill flash, these add just such a cool extra dimension of creativity potential to your kit bag for a very small amount of money and almost no space taken at all. It's almost daft not to go and get one. It means you can shoot in places you wouldn't necessarily be able to shoot otherwise. If you're doing out and about portraits, if you're shooting animals around the house, it will recharge in 1.5 seconds between shots. So it's not ultimate rapid fire, but it's quick enough, very fun, not serious environment. This is a great little addition because it is so tiny and it is so potentially useful. I'm really thrilled. I am someone who loves shooting with flash, so if I have an opportunity to add another little bit of flash somewhere in a picture, then brilliant. This is a really handy extra tool in my armoury. I love this. I'll drop a link to the Godox information page in the description below so you can find out any more specifics I haven't covered in here. I think I've covered everything though. And if I can find an Amazon link to pick them up, I'll add them to the description too. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this little tiny look at this little tiny flash gun. I think it's really cool. If you've enjoyed this, please, of course, hit like and subscribe, and join me again next time when who knows what bit of camera work we'll be talking about, but more will be coming. Take care and goodbye.